Simon, question for you without notice, with notice. What else have you been watching?
All right, two very quick things I'm going to push through. Julio Torres is a bit of a hot thing at the moment. Last week, listeners will remember that I mentioned Problemista, which is his film from 2023, in which he teamed up with Tilda Swinton to create this very bizarre sort of world in which he lived. That sort of thinking and that sort of approach is embraced again for his TV series, a 6 episode series called Fantasmas, in which he plays a young man whose imagination comes to life. He'll think of something like, what if the letter what does it feel like to be the letter Q? And then that will come alive as Steve Buscemi as a nightclub performer who gets no recognition, who's cast aside because Q is never spoken of. There's also elements where you'll enjoy this one. He imagines an alien landing on Earth coming to live with a family, much like Alf back in the day. But the father, played by Paul Dano, has an illicit affair with Alf and becomes the man who slept with an alien, and it's all about the breaking down of the family. All of which is done in classic sitcom style. Much of this is based upon the imagination of Julio Torres, and as a queer young man, as an immigrant, he has a very sort of unusual perspective on the American way of life. This all takes place on several nights in a kind of in between reality version of New York City. He's in a cab with some unusual people. He's in a nightclub with some unusual people, and his imagination stems from that. It's kind of a sketch show with these little interstitial things, all brought together by the journey that Julio Torres is on to find an oyster that fell out of a golden oyster that fell out of his earring. This is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. It's like a surreal, a little bit sort of psychedelic version of Pee Wee's Playhouse. But I've got to say, I couldn't look away. It had some really unusual stuff in there that was really compelling to watch. It's not like anything. The more I tried to compare it to something, the more I realized what an original vision it is. And that's not a bad thing, even if it won't be everyone's cup of tea. So it's called Fantasmas. It's on Max in the US and one of the Foxtel channels here in Sydney. Then I also saw
Well,
The Exorcism, which,
sorry, Simon. Before we move on,
yeah, go ahead.
Julio Torres, you referred to Problemista. I don't know that film really had a lot of cultural cut through, but people may know him a bit better as the main creative behind Los Espookies, which was another HBO
Yeah.
series from about 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mentioned Problemista because it's had a few screenings down here at the Sydney Film Festival over the last couple of days. No, the film itself didn't cut through at all with audiences, but that doesn't surprise me because it was a calling card film for his very bizarre and unusual comedic views. And I think I don't know where he's going to go. It's going to be unusual to see if he develops into that big screen star in the way that other comics with this sort of perspective have. I guess if you had to compare it to an original comic vision, you'd look at The Curse, which is something that became sort of the hot item over the last 6 months, the Emma Stone Nathan Fielder series. So, but only in its originality, not in its presentation at all. The Exorcism with Russell Crowe is Russell returning to he did the Pope's Exorcist a couple of years ago, and it was kind of just garbage. And with this one, The Exorcism, it's directed by and written by the son of the actor who played Damien Karras in The Exorcist, the William Friedkin classic. It's about an actor who takes on the role of an exorcist, but who allows through his method acting to be possessed and threaten his daughter and others in the cast. David Hyde Pierce is in this alongside Russell Crowe, and he has a fairly significant role. The movie itself is kind of a meta take on the madness of acting and how it can possess creative types, and that possession takes very literal form in this movie. It's Russell chewing some scenery and paying some bills like only Russell Crowe can do. I didn't not like it. Actually, it kind of won me over by the end, but it's a very unusual. I can't imagine this is the best material that's coming across Russell Crowe's desk, but he continues to want to make these exorcism movies, so all power to him. It's out in cinemas now in limited release through Rialto.
Now, I believe this film's actually been sitting on the shelf for some time, and The Pope's
Yes.
Exorcist was actually made after this film, The
Oh,
Exorcism.
really? Oh,
I
that's
believe so.
unusual. I did not know that. It's an interesting take being written and directed by the guy who's the son of um, uh, the actor. What's his name? Jason Miller, who played the Damien Karras in The Exorcist. It's a it brings an element to it that makes you think, wow, that must have been a tough existence for his family. The guy was only ever known for playing that role, certainly in the film circle. So it's an interesting examination of that phenomena.
I mean,
What have you
sure,
been watching?
it's interesting trivia. I don't know if it's actually interesting, but
Yeah.
anyway, Simon Foster. I have been watching a whole bunch of things. Look, some of it I'll talk about, some of it I will complain about as my daughter flips around on ABC Kids. But the thing I'm going to mention here on the podcast are the following things. First of all,
Mhm.
based off all the very positive chatter about Hitman, I tried watching it last week and I just fell asleep on the couch 3 minutes in, which was unfair, but I was
Sure.
just really sleepy. But I finally got around to watching it, and I have to say, it was fine. I think that it's gotten a lot of very positive chatter, largely because there just aren't really many movies like this anymore. Like, it's certainly charming enough, but I think the buzz around the film is maybe just a little bit heightened to what it actually probably deserves. But it was fine. I think I was just let down by the end, which I think takes things in a direction which didn't really feel entirely authentic to the experience that I'd had with the main character for most of that. He engages in a very drastic action, which I don't think was warranted. It was almost like an easy way
and
out.
which and which is pointed out in the film as being, while the film is based on a true story, those bits are not.
Yeah, and yeah, that definitely felt like too much of a reach. But anyway, it's perfectly fine. I think people should give it a look because there's a lot to like about the movie, but certainly don't buy into a lot of the buzz around it. And Simon and I were talking about this just before we got on the. Well, actually, it was between segments. We've edited it out. But Hitman actually hasn't performed as well as I think a lot of people would have liked on Netflix. So the question I've got in my mind is Glen Powell, is he the next big thing? Because his face is all over the tiles across Netflix and people aren't clicking those buttons. So, anyway, I find that a bit interesting. But the other thing I've been watching is Almost Perfect, which is the sitcom from the 1990s. This was a
I
show
knew
from, yeah, this was a show from some of the former writers of Cheers. It's them teamed up with Robin, oh gosh, I can't think of her surname right now. She is the lady that went and wrote the movie Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, I could usually
No, I
do
don't
this,
know
but I'm
about
on the
that.
spot right now. Name's Robin something or
Yep.
other. But anyway, this is a show from, I want to say it's like about 1995 ish. Yeah, so it was a thing that she did right before Romeo and Michelle, before that actually got made. I don't know when she actually wrote it. Movies are always a bit hard to tell. But if people don't remember this one, this is Nancy Travis. It's a guy named Kevin Kilner, and she's a executive producer of a cop show that's supposed to be a little bit like NYPD Blue. Meanwhile, he's an actual like prosecutor who, they have a bit of a meet cute in a bar one night, and so they, fall into a relationship pretty quickly. As soon as they actually fall into a relationship, the sort of heat disappears out of their relationship, and they retool the show for a second season, and he's not part of it anymore. Instead, it becomes more of a workplace comedy with her and the writers of the TV show, which that's the part of the show that probably works a little bit more than the other part. But I watched the first couple of episodes last night, and I was actually surprised at how funny it actually is. Like, it's very mid 90s, heavy on the laugh track,
Very. Yep.
just very sitcom-y. But still, there were
So,
legitimate
what? Give
laughs to be had
an
in it.
idea of. Give us an idea of the environment that this is in. What are the other shows? This would be Carolyn in the City. This would be the Kirstie Alley designing women type show that was on.
Yeah,
It's in
so
that sort of sitcom
think
realm.
think about it in that year that followed Friends, where suddenly everything became sort of cute and frothy, like relationship comedy sitcoms. Like the family sitcom's
Yep.
dead, and it's about professionals in workplaces and rom coms and a bunch of cute, attractive friends all getting together and hanging out. So this very much
Sure.
falls into that workplace comedy slash rom com realm. So it's a little bit sort of mad about you ish, I guess might be the way to
Yep.
sort of contextualize it. But it's certainly probably not quite as smart as a Mad About You. It doesn't really have a lot to say
And
about the world.
it features the very lovely Nancy Travis, who had a moment there where she was in 3 Men and a Baby and a couple of other notable movies of the day, and had a couple of rolls of the dice as a sitcom star, if I remember correctly. I can't remember what the other show
Oh,
was, but
I think
always a
consistently
fan,
she's
very
had many,
likable
many
on screen.
sitcoms.
Yeah, and always lovely and wonderful to watch with a lovely comic timing. This one is sort of in the middle of her output, isn't it? I don't think it was ever really the big hit that we all hoped it would be.
No, it was not a hit in any possible way. As I said, it ran for 2 seasons. They retooled it after the first. The second season, I don't think did much
Robin
better.
Schiff. Robin Schiff is the
Robin
lead.
Schiff, that's absolutely it. Being the
Yep.
co-creator of the show. What I think is probably the best thing to take away is that the theme song to this, it's a big band playing over the top. It's very fun and really energizes the show in a way that I think most sitcoms would kill for a theme song that's this good. Yeah, it's a weird one to drop a clip into because it's kind of. I don't know. There's actually opening titles. I think it just plays over the top of intro scenes.
One of
Yeah.
those ones. All right. Okay. Good. Almost perfect. Is it available to watch anywhere? Why bring this up if we can't watch it, Dan Barrett? Where can we see this?
So look, you can watch it if you jump on this website and get out your computer right now. http://
Yeah.
www.youtube. That's youtube.com. So check that out, and you'll find some episodes that have a lot of VHS wear and tear that have been uploaded.
Oh, good. Nice. Almost perfect. Lovely, Nancy Travis. Good to have her back in the podcast.